Or if I told you, the next global conflict is already shaping the world you live in, but almost nobody recognizes it yet. Minus, 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 everything you do is wrong. Not because it is false, but because it is incomplete. Minus, 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 what looks like isolated military tension is actually a connected system. A system where energy and politics are no longer separate. Minus, minus, in the words you see that connection. Nothing looks stable anymore. Minus, 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 because this is not just about missiles, and it is not just about diplomacy. It is about control, over movement, over energy, over timing. Minus, minus, let's start with what everyone sees first. Military escalation. Missiles launched. Drones intercepted. Air defenses activated across multiple regions. But here's the part most people miss. The real change is not the attack. It is the speed of response. Minus, minus, because reaction times are shrinking. Coordination is increasing. And systems are beginning to behave like one network. Not separate countries, but one interconnected battlefield structure. Minus, 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 and that changes everything. Minus, 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 now look deeper. Energy markets. Because every escalation is instantly translated into price movement. Not hours later. Not days later. Immediately. Minus, 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 oil does not wait for confirmation. It reacts to probability. And probability is now unstable. Minus, 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 then there's the choke point. The Strait of Hormuz. A narrow waterway, but a global pressure valve. Every political signal changes its risk profile. Every military movement changes its insurance cost. And every delay creates economic ripple effects worldwide. Minus, 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 but here's where the situation becomes harder to define. Because escalation is no longer linear. It does not rise and fall cleanly. It pulses. Minus, 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 say strike happens. Then silence. Then limited response. Then uncertainty again. And that uncertainty becomes the dominant force. Minus, minus, because uncertainty is not empty space. It is pressure. Minus, minus, now shift to the political layer. Negotiations continue, but under constant tension. Ceasefire discussions exist, while localized incidents still occur, which creates a contradiction. A conflict that is paused, without being resolved. Minus, 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 and that is where analysis begins to break down. Because traditional war models assume closure, this one does not. Minus, minus, now add another layer. Internal political pressure. Because no major actor is fully unified. Different institutions push different strategies. Some favor escalation control. Others favor decisive outcomes. Others prioritize economic stability. And none of them fully dominate the system. Minus, 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 which means decisions become slower and more fragmented. Minus, 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 and fragmented systems are harder to predict. Minus, 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 meanwhile, something else is happening quietly. Proxy networks and regional actors are adjusting behavior, not fully withdrawing, not fully engaging, but recalibrated, waiting. And waiting is not neutral. It is strategic positioning. Minus, minus, now step back, because if you zoom out far enough, a pattern begins to appear. Military pressure, energy sensitivity, political fragmentation, all moving at the same time, but not in sync. Minus, minus, and when systems are out of sync, instability increases even without new events. Minus, 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 that is the key shift. Instability is no longer event minus driven. It is structure minus driven. Minus, 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 and that is what makes this phase different. Because it in small signals can produce large reactions. Minus, 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 a statement. A delay. A rumor. A movement of ships. Each one can shift global pricing or trigger defensive readiness. Minus, minus, now the question becomes unavoidable. If no single actor fully controls escalation, and no agreement fully resolves it, what exactly is the system moving toward? Minus, minus, because it is clearly not peace. But it is also not full minus scale war. Minus, minus, it is something in between. Sustained. Reactive. Unfinished. Minus, 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 and that may be the most important shift of all. Minus, minus, because if instability becomes continuous, then conflict is no longer an event. It becomes a condition. Minus, 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 and conditions do not end with agreements. They evolve. Minus, 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 so here's where we are now. A system under pressure. Multiple actors adjusting in real time. Energy markets reacting faster than diplomacy. Military structures adapting to constant uncertainty. Minus, 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 and no clear endpoint in sight. Minus, 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 which leads to the final question. Not who wins. Not who escalates next. It's something more uncomfortable. Minus, 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 what happens when a conflict stops having an ending at all? Minus, 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 is this the beginning of a new global order? Or the normalization of permanent strategic tension? Minus, minus, tell me what you think in the comments. Because the answer will depend on how you define stability in the first place.